What if an idea could change the world, inspire revolutions, topple empires, and yet also cause some of history's darkest tragedies? That idea is communism. One of the most controversial forces in modern history, communism is more than just politics. It's a vision. At its core, it imagines a society without classes, without private property, and without exploitation, where resources are shared for the common good. The concept traces back to Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels, who in 1848 published the Communist Manifesto. They argued that history was a struggle between the oppressors, the owners of production, and the oppressed, the workers. For them, capitalism was just the latest chapter in that story, destined to collapse under its own contradictions. But communism didn't stay in theory. It exploded into reality, and the world would never be the same. The first great test came in Russia, 1917. Amid war, hunger, and collapsing monarchy, Vladimir Lenin and the Bolsheviks seized power, declaring the world's first communist state. The Soviet Union. It promised equality, workers' power, and an end to exploitation. But reality was harsher. Civil war, famine, and authoritarian rule quickly followed. Under Joseph Stalin, communism transformed into an industrial powerhouse, but at a staggering human cost. Forced collectivization, gulags, and purges that killed millions. Meanwhile, the idea spread like wildfire. After World War II, Eastern Europe fell under Soviet influence, creating a communist bloc. In China, 1949, Mao Zedong led a revolution that brought communism to one of the world's largest nations. Soon after, Cuba, Vietnam, and others joined the Red Wave. Communism wasn't just a government system, it became a global movement, inspiring liberation struggles in Africa, Asia, and Latin America. For some, it meant freedom from colonialism and inequality. For others, it meant dictatorship and economic collapse. The Cold War turned communism into the great rival of capitalism. Nuclear standoffs, proxy wars in Korea, Vietnam, and Afghanistan, all played out under the shadow of ideological conflict. But inside communist states, cracks appeared. Shortages, repression, and lack of personal freedoms eroded support. In China, Mao's radical projects like the Great Leap Forward and Cultural Revolution left millions dead. In Eastern Europe, uprisings in Hungary, Czechoslovakia, and Poland revealed that not everyone wanted to live under the Red Banner. Finally, in 1989, the world watched the Berlin Wall fall. By 1991, the Soviet Union itself had collapsed. For many, it seemed communism as a system had failed, yet communism didn't vanish. China adapted its system, mixing market economics with one-party rule. Vietnam followed a similar path. Cuba and North Korea still cling to their versions, and the ideas they live on, workers' rights movements, socialist parties, and anti-capitalist protests, often trace their roots back to Marx's vision. In fact, phrases like the 1% versus the 99% echo Marxist critiques of inequality. The history of communism is not just a story of failed states or utopian dreams. It's a mirror reflecting humanity's struggle for fairness, equality, and justice. For some, it's a warning about absolute power. For others, it's a reminder that the desire for a more equal world never truly dies. So, what do you think? Was communism humanity's greatest mistake, or an unfinished experiment? Drop your thoughts in the comments, subscribe for more deep dives into history and politics, and check out our next video on capitalism versus communism, a day in your life.